What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Spoilers with Paul, bringing you the latest on Celebrity Big Brother live feeds. Okay, guys, so we just came off of an eviction last night where Shannon was evicted. It was kind of the plan for them to get her out for a really really long time. So they really it was just mission success for them at that point. So they succeeded in getting the person they wanted out for pretty much the past week. And Shannon was a good player, so it made sense for, well, I guess it made more sense for the HOH than for some of the other people that wanted to get her out. But anyway, long story short, she was eliminated. So let's talk a little bit about this HOH competition. Looks like it was endurance. It was like a sitting competition, like you guys saw it at the end of the episode, obviously. And by the way, if you guys want to talk in chat, I will be looking at comments, so just say hi or whatever you need to say, and I will chat with you if you have any questions, etc., or want to ask me my opinion on something. Yeah, just let me know. So yeah, it was a sitting competition. It was between, at the end, it was between Omarosa and James. And they cut a deal with each other. Omarosa cut a deal with James that if James dropped, Omarosa would not be putting James on the block. So James dropped, and Omarosa won HOH. That's a real surprise there, because Omarosa, with the veto last week, or two evictions ago, when she was on the block, she goes to the hospital with asthma, and now she's like winning endurance competitions. I'm fairly impressed with Omarosa. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about what the actual gameplay that has been going on so far is. So Brandy voted for Mark to go in the episode, which was a little bizarre because the plan was, as you all know, to get Shannon out. So she had a little spat with her alliance about that whole thing. And she says, I just felt bad that Shannon was not that Shannon was going home with everyone voting her out. Like, she wanted to give her a sympathy vote, basically. But she didn't really talk about doing it with her alliance members, so they were kind of taken aback. And they're like, listen, no. We made this as a group decision. Why do you only get to give a sympathy vote out? It just doesn't make any sense. Ari was saying that she was voting with her emotions, and I kind of agree. It was Brandy should have at least told her alliance that, yeah, I'm just gonna toss her a sympathy vote. Nothing. I don't mean anything by it. That's just the way it is. I just feel bad sending her out on like a 7-0 vote, basically. Yeah, I mean, I think the alliance would have maybe understood or talked her out of it at that point. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that really matters that much? I mean, the end result was still Shannon going home, but do you think that maybe wins her some sympathy with Shannon, like as a jury member? I'm not really sure. I see Brandy just as a little emotional, but anyway, I don't know. Is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about. So Mark was talking to James last night as well, and they were kind of saying, "Oh, hey, I think the most likely scenario of Noms is probably going to be," and this is actually what it ends up being after a lot of conversation throughout the day. But last night, Mark and James were saying that it's probably going to be Ross and Brandy on the block, and I was actually surprised by their foresight, because at the time, everything was kind of up in the air. We didn't really know what was going on exactly. Omarosa didn't really know what she wanted to do exactly. But those actually did end up being the Noms later. But we'll get to how we got there in a little bit. So yeah. So Omarosa throughout the day has made it clear to Mark and James and a few other people that she really wants Ross out this week. She sees Ross as a huge threat in this game. Has a lot of sway, a lot of charisma. She referenced a lot the first week with Shannon and him basically flipping the house to get Chuck out instead of James. So Omarosa kind of sees this charisma as a huge threat, and a big threat to win at the end is basically what she's pointing at there. Also, she points out that he's basically aligned with everyone in the house, and he has a great social game, so he's probably the best person to get out at this point. Honestly, Ross probably is the best person she can go after at this point. It makes sense to me. I don't have any qualms with that move. It makes Omarosa a target, but I think she was already a target, at least if we consider the four-person alliance. Ari, Brandy, Ross, and Marissa were obviously always going to be gunning after one of the other four. Anyway, so yeah, I think the move makes sense. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree. Maybe you guys think that maybe sending Ari out is a better idea, or Brandy, or Marissa. I mean, let me know. Let me know what you think. So let's see here. So Omarosa talks to Mark. She brings Mark into her room, and she's basically like, "Okay, listen, I don't want to put you on the block," because previously she was kind of like thinking about. She was talking to Marissa and all the girls and Ross, and she was basically saying, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna put up Ross and Mark." So she was kind of like thinking about doing that. So she brought Mark up, and she was like, "Listen, I don't really want to put you up. Like I was thinking about it because you were just on the block. I feel bad about it. Also, I mean, it doesn't really make sense for me to do that." Mark was like, "Yeah. I mean, I understand. It makes more sense to definitely put one of them up." And that's that. So then Omarosa has a talk with James, and she talks to Mark, and she's basically like, "Listen, Ross is my target this week," and Mark is like, "Okay." So then Omarosa goes to talk to James, and they basically are going over all the scenarios together. And Omarosa is basically like, "Listen, I want Ross out this week," and James is saying, "Okay, if you want Ross out this week," because he's saying that he would prefer Brandy out in that scenario, which makes, I guess it makes sense for his game. I think Ari's a bigger threat than Brandy, but who's counting here? But anyway, so James is like, "Okay, if I'm gonna promise to vote Ross out, then what I need is for this deal thing to last a little longer, like maybe like an extra like vote or for next time around, like you promise not to vote for me or something along those lines." And Omarosa is like, "Yeah, sure, that makes sense to me." And then they kind of like think, "Oh, why don't we bring Mark into this too?" So, and then Omarosa is like, "Yeah," and there's also Metta as well. So they kind of like figure out that they can form a four-person alliance, and that's essentially what they do. They bring Mark into the room, and they're basically like, "Okay, listen, like we might as well work together at this point. The whole other side of the house is together, so we're just gonna start working together." And honestly, this is the final. That's the final four that Omarosa says is the most ideal for her at the moment. So I mean, we'll find out for sure if she's telling the truth about that, because she also has said previously that she wanted a girl to win for sure. So I'm not really sure where she stands, but looks like there's definitely a new Final Four deal going about. And I'm actually excited about it because I like all four of these individuals. Let me know down below what you think about them. Let's see here. Omarosa talks to James. James doesn't think right. So the reason why James wanted to get Brandy out instead of Ross, which has kind of facilitated this whole deal, was that he doesn't think he can beat Brandy at the end, which I thought was bizarre. But he thinks he could beat Ross at the end, which is also bizarre. I mean, I can understand, like, we know more at home than they do in the house. I think Ross's chances are lower than we might think, just based on the way he's backstabbed people. But I don't know. I don't think James is right in that opinion. Omarosa was actually saying that, I don't want to sit next to, like, we have to get Ross out, but we also have to get Ari and Marissa out at some point, because it's scary to her. It's scary to think of sitting next to Marissa or Ari at the end, because they will probably win. And that's honestly like good foresight on her part, because Ari is playing a really, really good game, like incredible game. Like, has anyone noticed that most of the blood from last week isn't even on Ari's hands? It's like on Brandy's hands, basically. So Ari basically had a really, really successful week. And I think Omarosa is seeing that, and she understands that Ari has to go at some point. But as of right now, Ross is still the target for this time around. But I think she's saying for next time, Marissa, then probably Ari, then Marissa, then probably Brandy. That's probably her idea in her head. And I'm sure James probably wants to get Brandy out first. But whoever wins the next few HOHs will probably get to really decide that for sure. Okay. But yeah, so what they decided to make that 4-person alliance between James, Mark, Omarosa, and sort of Metta World Peace. And I'll explain to you what I mean by sort of Metta. So Omarosa walks up to Metta in bed, and she's basically like, listen, Ross is my target for this week. Will you vote with us? And Metta's like, yeah, for sure. I respect your HOH, and I'll vote for who you want me to vote out. So then Omarosa goes back to the 3, and they're like, okay, so Metta's going to vote with us, but that's all we're telling him. So Metta's going to work with us for this vote, and probably down the line a little more, but he's not. So Metta is in the 4-person alliance without knowing that he's in the 4-person alliance. The reason he doesn't know is because because Mark and James and Omarosa all think that if he knows he's in a 4-person alliance, he's just going to blab it out to everyone, and they'll kind of ruin everything. So I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. So Metta doesn't even have to try to get in alliances in this game. It's freaking amazing. Oh God, just incredible. Incredible. Mark's targeting Art, right? So Mark's saying that he's. I already mentioned this, but yeah, Mark actually wants to target Ari next because she put him on the block, which makes sense. So if he wins HOH, you can probably expect him to put Ari and probably Brandy up. If I had to guess, they find out that there is going to be a veto twist. Everyone in the house, and they all speculate that. And I'm actually going to give my spiel on what scenario for the twist I think would be the best case. But I think everyone on Twitter basically already knows what that is. I'm glad to see everyone is on the same page for once. But yeah, so they learn about this veto twist. They don't know what the twist is. They just know that it affects the veto. So the biggest speculation right now is that it's going to be a diamond power veto, which is an option, though I don't think many people are voting for it. So everyone's kind of thinking, okay, whoever wins the veto also gets to replace the nom. So that's everyone's thought process right now. And they're saying, okay, we got to win veto and prevent that basically, or win veto and then basically replace with James is what people are really planning with that. Anyway, the best case scenario for the spotlight veto for Omarosa's game, I said spotlight veto. Yeah. So the best case scenario for the veto twist is for the spotlight veto to win out because the other two have the greatest chance of messing up Omarosa's game. The reason for the diamond power veto is if someone she isn't aligned with wins, they will probably put James on the block. And for the VIP, I believe that's what it's called, the VIP veto, if let's say it's Ross and Brandy on the block. So let's say if Ari won, for instance, she would be able to take both of them off the block. Ari would also be safe. And then Omarosa would have to probably put up Marissa, and then someone from her own alliance. And would she still have the numbers? And I think she probably would. No. She would not. She wouldn't have the numbers then. So that's the whole reason why I didn't like that veto case. Okay, so that's the best case scenario for the veto is for the spotlight. Yeah. All right, let's see what else has been going on. So yeah, I already mentioned this, but the two people that do end up being on the block are Brandy and Ross. After they're put on the block, Ross kind of says some weird things. I don't know. He was like, "Oh, I'm glad. I'm actually glad I'm getting. I'm glad I'm on the. I'm glad I got put on the block by Omarosa because it's interesting." And I just thought it was very bizarre. We talked a little bit about like, oh, this will be a great story. You know, if I leave on Omarosa's HOH, I'm glad I'm not on Omarosa's side because that makes me on the good side. And I'm just like, well, that's not necessarily the case for us. And you know, Brandy's obviously pissed off too, but you know, Brandy's pretty emotional player. But she hasn't really been doing too much, although she's kind of calling. They kind of know that Mark, James, and Omarosa have a deal. There's been talks that they have a deal, and it makes sense. One other funny thing was that when Mark and Omarosa were talking before Noms, Mark told Omarosa that he was going to go downstairs and tell the other side of the house that Omarosa was going to put him up, like Mark. And Omarosa's like, "Oh yeah, that's totally perfect." So, and then I just thought that was really funny. And then so after the Noms took place, Ross is like, "Yeah, I thought it was gonna be you." No, or Marissa was like, "I thought it was gonna be you." No offense. And Mark was like, "Oh yeah, for sure. I thought so too." just some funny thing. Yeah, so that's basically it with the game talk. We did have some interesting scenes with James today. He was cooking and narrating while he was cooking his steak. I thought that was kind of it was funny. If you guys go to a little before 8 p.m. Pacific time on feeds, you can watch him narrate while cooking his steak, kind of like a cooking show for like 10 minutes. That was that's fun for that house. And then there was a little thing in the backyard where they were like reading. They were pretending to read out live tweets to each other and asking each other questions from like fake fans, basically. And Brandy basically. So it was interesting because you know, it was just something that was entertaining for them. But Brandy made it more interesting when she made her question to James, did you make a deal with Omarosa and Mark? And James is basically like, yeah, I made a deal with every single person here. And I was like, okay, good cover there, James. So yeah, I think we'll call it up. Yeah, I think we'll call it there. I want to thank you guys for watching. If I sound a little like muddled or whatever, it's because I am so gosh darn tired today. But thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. If you support our channel and everything we do, please consider donating to us on Patreon. Our link is in the description below. We give shout outs to individuals that donate $3 or more a month. Speaking of shout outs, I want to give a shout out to Patty for supporting our channel. Thank you for all that you do for us and for always talking in the chat. So thank you so much for supporting us. Yeah, give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, guys. Peace.